Hi, it's Alicia and welcome to part 1 of my men's dress shirt recreation series. This is going to be a 3-part series in which I'm going to have different men's dress shirts. I'm going to find different ways to transform them. So in this one I'm going to be using my dad's old party shirt. So it's completely black and it's made out of a stretchy mesh material. The fabric also has a bit of sparkles throughout it. So for this one I'm going to make it into a more girlier top. And let's get started. With a tank top underneath, trace the straps. And this will be the new armholes. Mark a straight neckline where the second button is. The final marking should look like this. Make a template of the existing armhole by tracing it on a piece of paper. Cut it out and place it on the new armhole markings. Trace the complete new armhole onto the fabric. Add about 1 inch of seam allowance and cut it out. I am using a rotary cutter, which is easier to use when working with slippery fabrics. For the back, detach the yoke by seam ripping the seam. For the front, take off the button to be able to cut as close as possible to the marking. Connect the new armhole marking to the end of the shirt. Repeat on the other side. Pin it down and sew it. Cut off the extra fabric. Next, hem the front and back neckline. Fold the fabric in twice and pin it down. Sew it down with a straight stitch. Sew the armpit seam. And now it's time to attach the sleeves. Lay the armhole open and connect the seams right sides together. Pin it down as you reach the end of the armhole and sew it. Leave about 1 inch of seam allowance where the sleeve meets the neckline because I will be adding elastic. Here's the basic shape of the top. The sleeves are a little loose, so I will add elastic. On the top inner side of the sleeve, pin the elastic down. Use a zigzag stitch and pull on the elastic to sew it evenly onto the fabric. Fold in the fabric once and sew with a straight stitch. Continue pulling on the fabric while you sew. Now the sleeves are secure. Remove the cuff of the sleeve by using a seam ripper. I'm going to transform them into belt sleeves. Hem the raw edges by using the same technique as the neckline. Fold it in twice, pin, and sew. Use the collar or any extra fabric left to make a strip of fabric that will be used as a belt. Cut them to be 1 inch wide. Since the collar has 2 layers of fabric, it gave me 4 pieces in total. Sew them all together to create a long piece. Mine was about 65 inches long. This step isn't necessary, but I recommend to use an iron to make this belt. Basically iron it in half, and then iron the raw edges in. This is extremely helpful when dealing with slippery fabrics like mesh, and it makes the sewing a lot cleaner. And now it's ready to be sewn. Sew at the edge of the opening with a straight stitch. Cut 2 1-inch strips of fabric for the belt loops and for the belt sleeves. Follow the same steps as the belt and it should give something like this. The sleeve loops were 8 inches long. Place it on the sleeve at a distance of 2.5 inches and sew it where the seam is. Sew it back and forth multiple times to secure it. Repeat the same thing for the other sleeve. For the belt loops, cut them at a length of 2 inches. Add one on each side and decide at what height you want them to be. Pin the belt loop with it pointing up and sew it down. Fold it down and fold in the raw edge. Top stitch on both of the edges. And here's the belt loop. The final step is to make the back the same length as the front. Cut 1/2 inch lower than the front and hem it the same way as the original hem. Mine was folded in only once. Since this fabric does not fray, it's okay, but if yours is a woven fabric, it's best to double hem like the sleeves and the neckline. Sew it in about 1/2 inch with a straight stitch. Thread the belt into the belt loops and we're done. And here's the final transformation. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and please go watch part 2 and part 3 of this series to find out what else I can transform these men's dress shirts into. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!